What is up guys, Andy Forest Team Runner here and welcome back to another video, and today I'm bringing you guys another long-term shoe review in the form of the Nike STREAKFLY after 200 miles. Workout was 10 by 2 minutes on with a 1 minute jog recovery in the Nike STREAKFLYs, which takes us up and over that 200 mile mark, 204 miles to be precise. And I'm excited to share my thoughts with you guys on this shoe because of course after 100 miles there was quite a little bit of wear and tear going on the bottom. I'm going to share an update with that shortly, and then of course also the performance, how I've been using it and will I continue to use this shoe moving forwards. But overall, just a recap on this morning: great workout, felt good, felt strong, and once again went for my trusty STREAKFLYs, which is really where they've been getting the bulk of the work. We'll talk about that in a second, dive into all of that, but really happy with how this thing has been holding up. But is there a bit of a turning point now? Am I going to be changing things as I hit the 200 mile mark? Is this going out of the rotation and something else coming in? Let's talk about all of that now. If you're excited for today's video, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and we'll start with the wear and tear. Let's talk about the wear and tear first, and then we'll roll through how I've been using it, and then of course talk about will I continue to use it moving forward. There's been a significant development on this shoe between 100 miles and 200 miles. Let me talk to you about that, because if you saw the 100 mile review, you'd known that it was all about the outsole and how it had kind of like shed a layer very quickly. I likened it actually, whether I mentioned it or not, I can't remember, but I likened it to running in a Hoka like the Mach 4s or the Rincons, where they kind of shed a layer within the first few runs, and it looks like the outsole is going to be horrific, and actually it's just kind of aesthetic. It doesn't impact performance, and that's kind of what it was last time. This kind of really did wear down quite quickly, but in terms of the continued wear, there's not been too much more. Obviously at the top here, it's got a little bit bold where the tread is completely worn down, and as you can see, especially through the middle, a lot of the grooves are really starting to wear down, but that's not too dissimilar from what it was at the 100 mile mark. So I kind of felt like there was that initial wear and tear with the shoe. I'll show you the thing that's really kicked into gear though. Let me just mention the upper. Obviously this is very dirty, very dusty. You saw what I was running on today. It's a place called Linear Park. It's kind of like, it's not gravel, but it's just kind of like a trail, flat trail, but it's a trail. And there are some loose stones and rocks here and there, but on the whole, it's very smooth, very flat. That's the type of surface I've been using it on. Now, in the beginning, I was using the shoe mainly on concrete, and then I started to take it on some dry, dusty trails, hence the kind of off-white color that it is now. And then between 100 and 200, I've kind of stuck with that because I've been using it in my double threshold runs. And the evening session has been on concrete. So bear in mind what I'm about to talk to you now. This shoe has predominantly been used on concrete with a few sort of dusty trails in there as well. I'd say 75% is concrete and 25% those sort of very flat, buffed out trails. The significant development is the outsole is actually starting to peel away from the midsole. So I don't know if you can see, but just down the edge here, we have a nice crack. Now this appeared just after the 150 mile mark, and if I just show you here what I noticed when I was running actually on some footage, not from this workout just gone, but when I was holding the camera down to the side of the shoe, for some reason the kind of line when I was shooting the camera across, I could see that there was kind of this really dark line there, and I thought that's not right. So I inspected the shoe afterwards, and I did see that it had started to peel away, but it was a lot more minimal than what it is now. And over the last 50 miles, this has really started to come away. You can see there, so at some points this kind of goes back almost a centimetre in. So I actually don't know how much longer this this is going to stay on the midsole, because obviously this is exposed midsole here, this is the rubber outsole. So that's quite a worrying development in terms of longevity. I never predicted this shoe to last too long, but to be honest with you, that is quite significant and a bit of a turning point. Happened around 150 miles. It's hanging on in there at the moment. We'll talk a little bit about more of that shortly. Sorry about that, let me just put my teeth back in. Talk a little bit more about that shortly, was what I was meant to say. Anyway, moving on to how I've been using it. So I've kind of just alluded to how I've been using it. So it's predominantly been concrete, and my double threshold sessions I've been doing, if you've been following the channel, you know my style of training, and you'll know that on a Monday, on most weeks on a Monday, I'm doing workouts like you've just seen today. So timed intervals, but really kind of trying to keep them relatively controlled, slightly quicker than 10K pace, but nothing crazy. And that's where I've been doing, or that's where I've solely been using these shoes. Nothing else has had a look in. That is their sweet spot. And then on a Wednesday, I'm doing a double threshold run, and that consists of me using the Brooks Hyperion Tempo in the morning and then this thing in the evening. And I take this out onto the concrete down at Canop Ponds, and I'm doing a threshold session in this shoe there as well. So it is predominantly being used on the tarmac. Now, there are a few question marks on the last video, 100 miles, of people saying, well, look, do you know what, it's scuffing up a little bit more because you are taking them out on those dusty trails. And don't get me wrong, I understand that. I know that if I don't just take it out on smooth tarmac and I do take it on some of these flat buffed out trails, it is going to get scuffed up a bit quicker. So do take this wear and tear with a little bit of a pinch of salt. If you're solely running on concrete, it's not going to be quite as worn. I mean, you can see the midsole here, it's really sort of quite churned up, and you can see some like points here where stones have gone into the shoe, in and around here and here. I can't remember. There's one there, I think, one around here. You know, that's going to happen. It's exposed midsole, it's soft. Things like that are going to pierce through a little bit. Thankfully, I've not had anything crazy happen, but I have felt, especially in kind of this section here, if I go over any stones or loose rubble or anything, I have felt the pressure in the arch of my foot as it goes. So just be warned about that. But overall, in terms of how I've been using it, it's just been a workout shoe in those two areas, nowhere else, on the Monday workout and the Wednesday evening. And it really has kind of rocketed to 200 miles relatively quickly. It was a real challenge that I wanted to set myself, because after 100 with that real massive wear down on the outsole there, I thought, oh really, how long is this going to shoe last? But I've got to be honest with you, in terms of performance and how I've been using it, it's been holding up really well. So I guess the final question is, will I continue to use this shoe moving forward now it's hit 200 miles? So let me just say, in terms of everything I've said and the wear and tear and all of that, I'm still really enjoying using this shoe. And for me at the moment, it is the best speed shoe I have in my rotation. I absolutely fell in love with this shoe. Now, here's the catch. I mean, it's designed as a 5 and 10K racer. That's how Nike market this shoe. It even says it on the shoe in orange right there. So you can't mistake what its uses are. But like a lot of people, I have really found this to be a great training shoe. And in terms of volume, of distance, of how long Nike anticipate this being used, I'm assuming that when they produce this, they would think, right, these guys and girls are going to take this shoe out and then lace them up and do a 5 or a 10K on the track or on the roads, and this is going to be what it's for. Were they expecting it to be a training shoe? Who knows? I mean, I've made it to 200 miles, and at the 100 mile mark, I was really worried about if it would even hold to that point, especially with the softer foam. I'm prone to my ankles rolling in, start to get some shin pains and then knee pains, and have to retire shoes. Thankfully, I haven't had to do that with this shoe, and I actually haven't even had a glimmer of that. And I believe that's fully down to the midfoot shank that's in there, which is kind of, it's not a carbon plate, it's not full length, but it's somewhere in the middle, literally like there and there. As you can see, there's a point from there to there where there's just a bit of a stabilization in there, that midfoot shank, just to hold you strong and really stop you rolling in too much. I mean, I do roll in a little bit, but not too much, and it's just been fantastic. But my big question is now, as much as I love to take it to 300 miles, what I might do is I have a fresh pair of STREAKFLYs that only have one run in them. I might now break those out and see what the difference is in terms of feel, because you know what it's like. They feel great to me still, but I might notice the degradation in performance and deterioration in the foam more if I put on a fresh pair and see how they go. Plus, of course, June is gonna be full of running shoe releases. So I'm at a point now where I feel comfortable that I've taken this to a point where I know it's got more life in it. Predictions, I think maybe I could squeeze 300 out of it. I certainly don't think it's going to be too much more than that. But I think there's a potential there for it to hit 300 miles for £144. I'll take that. I enjoy it enough to warrant spending that much money on this shoe. I enjoy it. It's been amazingly fun to run in, and I think that's the key with these shoes, is it's been enjoyable, and I've loved every second of training in it. But in terms of now, with the outsole starting to peel away from the midsole, I do just wonder how much more life it's got left in there. But as I said, in terms of the foam and everything, it still feels relatively good, relatively fresh. So I think as it stands, will I continue to use it moving forwards? I'm probably just going to hold fire for the moment, test my new STREAKFLYs out, see how they feel, then of course wait for this influx of running shoes that are coming out in June, see if I get any more speed shoes added to the rotation, and if I do at that point, then I probably will retire these and start to get another shoe running up to 100 miles and really get those in for testing. So there we go, those are my thoughts on the Nike STREAKFLYs after 200 miles. Delighted to have hit this milestone. As I said, hit 100, really wanted to get it to 200, see what these things are made of. Had to retire the New Balance Rebel as a great example with soft foam, just because it hurt my shins and my knees. And I've had like the Pegasus Turbo 2, I had same issue, retired at 250, just found my shins, and that was hurting after 200 miles, and I pushed that a little bit too far. I got to 250 in those, but I really noticed my ankles and everything buckling in. But these are holding strong, they feel good still, and yeah, as I said, durability prediction, as I said, I reckon I can get 300 out of them, but am I going to test it out? Am I going to try it? Not too sure at the moment. Let's see what June brings, because I'm excited. I've got a couple of shoes earmarked if they release them in my size. I've got the money saved and I'm ready to spend it on some new shoes that are hopefully going to be coming in very, very soon. Love to know your experience with the STREAKFLYs. Let me know in the comments below what mileage you've got them to. How are they holding up? Are you experiencing the same as me? Is the outsole peeling away? Let me know if it's just me or if it's you guys. Is it a common thing? I guess it's around this time when people are really starting to use them a lot that we're going to find out, because they've been out now for 3 or 4 months. So I guess time will tell if this is a common fault or if it's something that's just happened to me. Anyway, that's it from me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give the video a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.